Well, Scotland are going to the World Cup. I mean, I have to go say it again. Scotland have qualified for the World Cup next summer. It feels like some kind of fever dream the other night. After 28 years and about 4 stone, we're back at the greatest show on earth. Welcome to Game On, folks. Your weekly quick-fire hot take podcast brought to you by Record Sport. Taking on all the weighty issues of the day. Talking about 4 stone. Taking on the weighty issues of the week like that.
Get prepared for that.
Oh, aye. I'm Michael Gannon. This is Graeme Young. What a week. What a week. I mean, listen, just take it back before we kick off the usual questions. Where were you, France 98? Were you even born, youngie?
Oh, yes. I was 11.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. See you, Jimmy's, all that. Watch that Brazil game in the mate's house. Tennies in the living room. First taste of heartbreak, if I remember it. I just remember being absolutely gutted when Brazil won that game, the first one.
It's incredible. You look back, I mean, we're obviously on all platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, and all these things, right? Our podcast. Back then, you had to plug the internet into your phone line. And if you run into it too long, the phone bill would shoot up and your mum would give you trouble. I would be 18, just in the cup for 1998. A young student with the world ahead of me.
But that was normal for you, but as well, you experienced a Scotland that were serial qualifiers at World Cups.
It sounds a bit daft, right? I remember we were talking about going. A few of the boys were talking about going. I was maybe say 18, 19. They were saying, well, why don't we go? And then we thought, oh, no, we'd already booked up for a lad's 18 to 30 holiday. And
Go
to the next World Cup. I mean, 28 years later.
Here we are.
But we're back, listen. And that's we'll kick off the usual questions. We'll start with Scotland. And listen, Steve Clarke. I mean, it takes a bit of stick now and again, but this is now his 3rd major tournament, and he's got us to the World Cup again. His contract's up after America next year. Mm-hmm. Should Steve Clarke stay beyond the World Cup? Let's jump beyond the World Cup. Yeah. Should he stay afterwards?
But this is a let's not hopefully not too much negativity here, but I think it's the right time to go out together. I think it's got to be the perfect way to go for a manager who I think history will be unbelievably kind. Mm-hmm. I think when you're in the moment, you'll know better than anyone sitting in that media section at Hampden, the view you get. At times on Tuesday night, there was a lot of nerves, probably sitting too deep.
I think you've been kind.
Exactly, I've been very kind.
For about an hour, it was absolutely .com.
Oh, I know, but Clarke's greatest strength is this togetherness, and it's real. You can see the celebrations. He's managed to get this core group of players to believe in him. Maybe I think he gets them on side to go. There'll be times in games we'll suffer or whatever the modern language is, and the players accept that. So they've bought into that element of it. So it might look horrific at times, as much you're paying back.
So why do you want him to finish up then?
Because everything's got a shelf life. Everything in life, and it feels a perfect moment. And what a better way is in this favourable format of 48 teams to finally maybe make a mark in a tournament, and how you couldn't script any better than that. There'll never be a higher point than that. Yeah. But I think for him as a man, he's been a credit to the nation, but it feels like a great time to break.
No, I think it's up to him. I think as long as he wants to be Scotland manager, he can be Scotland manager as far as I'm concerned. I mean, listen, it's been a bumpy road at times. There've been periods when we haven't done so well, but I mean, his record speaks for itself now. Getting us out of the kind of international wilderness to get us to the Euros twice, and now the World Cup. As long as Steve Clarke wants to be Scotland manager, I think he should be allowed to be Scotland manager. He should now have the decision. I think the SFA should offer him new terms if he wants them, but it should come down to whether or not. Because listen, I also think the next period of Scotland is going to be difficult. This feels like a team coming at the end of its cycle a wee bit. A lot of guys getting on a bit.
Is that not a reason to call it time?
No. Who would you trust more than to build again with Steve Clarke? It's a good age for international management. 62. He mentioned he joked himself in today's papers about needing to get back to gym, to get back to club management because it's a different change of pace. I would say it's up to you, Steve. If you want to stay on, then great. If you want to ride off the sunset, then we'll wish you all the best. But I would hope he sticks around. I must admit. And builds on it. There's another Euros in the corner after that as well. So, but listen, we'll not jump too far ahead because the World Cup is going to be amazing. I mean, the World Cup for me is the greatest sporting event on the planet by an absolute mile. I love my Ryder Cups and my Augusta and all this and Euros and stuff, but this is the best. This is the best, and for Scotland to be there, it's going to be so exciting. But you touched on it in the last question. What kind of impact can Scotland make?
I think they can have a good goal, and we've seen all versions of Scotland under Steve Clarke, haven't we, in the Nations League. I've brought that up a couple of times. Very good. The first round of results weren't great. Performance level can show we can go toe to toe with a certain level of team. But then this new Scotland in this last campaign, don't you need to play well when you qualify, win a group, first time in forever. And I think all the doubts and concerns about even within the players is gone now. So if we draw, I know the jokes are out, Cape Verde, Uzbekistan, that style of team. That I think
we're the same pot as them, I think.
Of course, well,
Can't get
so there you go. I'll go. So just even the level opponent that's maybe that would be favoured to beat. I think there's a mentality now in that squad that they'd be enough doggedness to get through it and win the game, and that might be enough a draw and a win to get out your group and so forth.
Yeah.
And again, it's I know we looked at the last Euros in Germany, the impact to the fans, but you imagine taking that to the next level in a Guadalajara or a Toronto or one of these. We will be the stars of the show off the pitch, and I think we've got a team now who've got enough just nous and understanding at this level of football to go and make an impact on it.
The changing format, I think, is a good one for us as well, because it's 48 teams, so it's 12 groups of 4. The 2 top teams go through each group, and the 8 best runners up. So 8 of the 12 groups, the third place team will get through. So it then becomes down to the draw. I mean, it could be that one win gets you through in some groups, and it might be a win and a draw. So it depends on the draw. I'm kind of torn. There's a bit of me would love to see Scotland up against the big hitters. I mean, I think if our pot 1, people are going, "Oh, do you want to get Canada from pot 1 or one of the hosts or America?" I wouldn't mind one of those two, I suppose. I don't think Mexico and Azteca. I don't know if I fancy that one.
No, that's. But we normally get those kind of missions.
But we don't fancy Argentina or Brazil. I mean, the real top tier, South American top tier. I think we should go there a bit. There's a bit of me also thinks that getting there is our achievement after so long. Getting there is the main thing. Being part of the party. And if we can go there and be competitive and get to the last game, give us something to be excited about. That'd be good if it's a final game against Caracas, and if Caracas are a good side by the way.
They are. No more.
Most of them are kind of Dutch, aren't they? That's the thing. It's a kind of Dick Advocaat's the manager, but they're a Dutch kind of colony, aren't they?
They are. Yeah,
you got to be wary. So if we can keep it competitive into that last game, needing a win or a draw in the last game to qualify, that'd be brilliant. It'd be so exciting. I can't wait. But I love the World Cup in general, but Scotland being there is just going to be sensational. But listen, the fight is now on to get on that plane for these players. I think you've got to say his squad's probably about 23 or 25 or 26 is already in place, given hopefully touchwood no injuries. But it's been a case a few years ago trying to get a few of these guys working playing down in England to get the Scottish granny route. One of them is Harvey Barnes, who spoke this week, and he's kind of opened the door a wee bit to it, having kind of been cool on the idea a couple of years ago. Should be getting him on board for America.
That was a well-timed interview, wasn't it? It was amazing that just cropped up.
Yeah, in fairness, I think he was at Astra. Yes. I don't think he offered that up. I don't think he was saying, billboard, pick me, Steve. Please, Steve, come and get me.
He did leave the door open. And this is where I probably go against. I get this element that Steve Clarke should be loyal. Of course he should, right? But Harvey Barnes is a legitimate player who, in twofold here, he'd become one of the best players in the squad. And he gives you, he helps you get the best out of Ben Gannon. I've made this point a few times, and I think it's uber important. You saw him going down. Doak started fast the other night against Denmark, but how much better would he be with 2 proper wingers? That Scotland just gives us that option. There's nothing worse when the ball's always going to that side. I think if you could mix and match, especially in games where we're playing at a tournament and we want a breakaway speed, could you imagine Barnes and Doak on either side? Just gives us legitimacy, gives us more options. And I totally get the argument that says, listen, he wasn't putting his hand up to playing qualifying, but that's Clark's probably greatest strength, this ability to keep everyone on side and keep his players. I think guys at a certain level like McTominay, McGinn, Roberts would understand that having a player at that level makes you better. I would be all for it.
Not for me. No, I take your point. He's a good player, and ordinarily I think he'd be a great addition to the squad. But this is the Scotland squad. You can't just pick and choose when you want to be a Scotland player. You don't. So you feel more Scottish now they've got to the World Cup. No, for me, if I'm not interested in him, and I think, well, you're just jumping on the bandwagon here, a glory hunter here. You're not getting picked by England. When you look at the flip side, look at someone like Scott McTominay, who maybe the choice back in the day, and he went for Scotland. Look at him the other night, running to his mum. After scoring the best goal you'll ever clap your eyes on. Best. Do you know what? I mean, I get the point, he's a good player, but just because you're a good player doesn't mean you automatically become Scottish or part of this unique, special kind of band of brothers have got in this Scotland squad right now. So I'm sorry, Harvey. I'm sure you would love to be part of Team USA, but I'm afraid you've missed the boat. It's a bit like the kind of the geek at the school getting a good job. All of a sudden, the woman off long term, they're like, oh, well, now you're coming. Now you're answering the call. No, so sorry, I'm not having it. Not for me.
You slapped me around the chop, put 2 quick ones in Barnes. He didn't do any like Anderson come into the squad. At least this would be a fresh start for him as well. And it's just a quality. It's just a quality he brings to the squad. I think people are forgiving it, and guys can quickly be out of squads and get back in. It's not always the same 23 guys that make it. I think you should. Make
Listen, if he has a kind of change of heart to a good season and goes to and joins us up the squad and scores in America, then I'll be in Team Harvey Barnes. I'll be cheering him on with the rest of us. Completely hypocritical.
As well.
Completely type of guy. Yeah. I'll do a reverse ferret and I'll be on board. But listen, let's move on to domestic matters. We're back in action this weekend after a mammoth monumental fortnight. Celtic-wise, still looking for him. Still not appointed the manager as we speak. The time this goes out, it could be changing, as we know. They seem quite far down the road with Wilfried Nancy. Right, what do you think? Hit or a miss?
I think he's going to be hitting. I think the reason why, did you know this? The protracted process to get to Nancy when it gets announced, and it seems likely it will be announced soon, is that I think the more you dig into him, the more you realise this guy's a proper manager. And I know the caveat comes in Major League Soccer and the different level, and you've made a good point about how the pressure, the genuine, it's not there. But I think when you look at this run in the CONCACAF last year, I've really ended up, usual me, down the YouTube rabbit hole and watched a lot of the highlights of those games against the Mexican teams. This tournament's always won by Mexican sides traditionally.
Yeah.
Columbus Crew have probably been the best version out the MLS, just in terms of the way they competed.
Yeah. It's a bit like England and Scotland,
exactly.
Isn't it? So a kind of similar kind of gap, isn't
it? That's it. Do you know how we talk as well about Celtic and fans have got this fondness of the Martin O'Neill era and the ability to go toe-to-toe with really good English teams? Yeah. That's what Columbus Crew were able to do in this tournament, where they were playing their proper brand of football, high up the pitch, scoring goals, causing proper Mexican teams issues away from home as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Their best performance came away in the semi-final. I think that just lends itself to a guy who, if everything goes to plan, I think he could be an impact both domestically and in Europe, and that's the kind of what Celtic have been seeking for so long. I think it's favoured them that, because the more you speak to them, with Kevin Coban today as well, you couldn't pay the guy to write nicer things. They're proper an explanation of who he is as a person and what he brings. I think he seems like a good bet the more you read about.
There's a bit of snobbery about the MLS, isn't there? And the fact that not even just the MLS, because I think the name may not been kind of well known as a former kind of player as well. Yeah. So I'm thinking if Thierry Henry had stuck around in the MLS and won the MLS Cup, won the MLS League Cup, did well in the CONCACAF Champions League, and then he got the job at Celtic, most people would be going, "Oh, that's quite exciting. You get a big name and he's done well in America." The fact that he's not got that background, that is up against it a wee bit that way. It is a big leap in terms of the pressure, the scrutiny. That's going to be. It's not going to be the kind of Sleepy Hollow of United States soccer, which it really is in terms of media and kind of fan background. So yeah, it's a big kind of jump, but I agree with you. I agree with you. I think it's an interesting, exciting kind of appointment, but a big step on the unknown. So we'll see how that one transpires. Martin O'Neill is the one that's in the position just now, and could be for a while yet until this is all resolved. A lot of fans have really enjoyed seeing Martin O'Neill back at Celtic. He seems to have quite enjoyed being back. He's been his mischief is best, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Should there be a permanent position for him at Celtic? I mean, I know we've got Celtic AGM coming up imminently, depending on when you're watching. It's on Friday. There's people saying that they would like to see him one day become a director of football, or maybe even the chairman, or just having some kind of position. What do you think?
I think it's a pretty strong argument, and he's found about 100 different ways of saying get me out of town, but I don't think he wants away for the club. I just think he's happy to step out the dugout when the time comes. But I think that's a really interesting point with the role in the club, because a lot of times these ambassador style roles, it's not all encompassing. It's very for meet and greets and all this,
Yeah.
but Martin O'Neill brings a lot more than that. I feel. I think what's really impressed me is how he's got this reputation of fearsome. I think he's about this ability not to modernise or anything. I think he's shown a real understanding that maybe the Celtic team he's managing right now isn't the team he
Very
was.
much so.
But he's not. I think he's dealing with it quite well, and I think as well that in a world of modernity and Paul Tisdale and algorithms and Wilfried Nancy and tactics, there's got to be a space for someone who's got bona fide experience and success. I think he'd be a great voice to have around the club. I think he'd be a good conduit for the board as well. I honestly do, and I don't think he's shy in speaking his opinion.
The only issue I think is if he's got a role that's in the thick of it, a kind of director of football or chairman role. If there's a bumpy patch for the manager, there's going to be a call again to get him back in the dugout. So I think that's an issue that sometimes it can cause more problems sometimes as well. There's also him, he's 73. I think the 2 weeks he had before the international break, I think by the end of it, he was pretty knackered, understandably. And I think we spoke to him in Denmark, and it was kind of put to him about the fact there's not a kind of free midweek from kind of next week right to February. His face kind of dropped, thinking, "Oh, what? Oh dear!" But a role behind the scenes was different. Obviously, it's not. It wouldn't be as quite as physically and emotionally, mentally exhausting. So yeah, I can see the point. I think the ambassador. I think there's a bit of him might want to return back to his kind of London home and his coffee in King's Road and all that stuff, and watch my father.
Simon Jordan.
And I think he'll walk away as having enhanced his kind of status. If possible, I mean, he already is a hero for fans. But I think if it does, if there's a smooth handover to the new manager, he walks away and stays. He isn't a de facto ambassador for the club anyway. He has been for 20 odd years. I think he'll just reaffirm his status as a club legend, and he can go and enjoy his peace and quiet. Right. Still on the subject of Celtic and boardroom matters, this AGM is not going to be a quiet affair, we don't think. There seems to be a lot of anger and ire between the fans and the board. Can this get resolved? Is there any way the Celtic board can win back the supporters? We've seen again, I mean, there's now an ongoing kind of problem with the kind of the ultras groups, isn't there, at Celtic Park? With bans for kind of Green Brigades and all this kind of stuff. It's getting a bit messy, isn't it? Is there any way that the board can win these guys? Well, not just the kind of ultras, I'm talking about the support in general. How can they win them back, or can they win them back?
So Brendan Rodgers was a man for sound bites. One year then was this: the quality of life, the quality of communication. I hope I've not George Bush that quote, but I think that's it. And I think it's pretty. It's pretty important right now with Celtic. I think that's our biggest weakness as a club by far. This inability to truly get the message that they want. I thought the statement this week, they almost get a bit. I think they put out right now they'll get in trouble for. But the fact that I thought it was a decent statement. Well, why not? Provided not, you can't have a go at them both ways. But they need more of that. I think just a real accountability. Fans were really miffed after the statement that came out after the transfer. That was a poor statement by any metric. And then obviously. Desmond slapped down Brendan Rodgers as well. That even whatever your view on it, it's not good optics for the club. I think there just needs to be more of that, just an understanding where Celtic fans are. They disagree. They believe that the structure's right. Celtic fans don't, but there needs to be a bridge between there. And getting to that is the most vital part. Now, things like the Green Brigade, that's an issue that's contentious in the sense that as much as maybe parts of what the Green Brigade say, they're not for everyone. The fan base is a silent element of the fan base that aren't or just a different generation, so that's not a universal thing. But the day-to-day stuff, and it all goes back to that night in Munich where Celtic fans genuinely believe they were on the verge of something, this ending these years in the kind of wilderness in Europe, and that's just gone.
But listen, you remind a couple of weeks before that there was anger at the transfer window in January.
Exactly, it's a long-running issue, but there was a feeling that they were. Yeah,
that wasn't utopia at that point either. Right. I think you're right. I mean, it's a long way back. I think there's a big disconnect now between the kind of board and a section of supporters. I think there is a problem. The money in the bank's a problem. I said it before. The money in the bank's a problem because Celtic fans are thinking we're stumping up serious cash to watch this team home and away, buying all the tracksuits and the replica kits and all that stuff. And there's money in the bank, and the money in the bank is not on the pitch, and that's the line from Disney was every penny we make we spend. That's clearly not the case because there's 80 million quid in the bank. Listen, the wage bill is higher than it's ever been. They have spent money, but there's still a big pot of money in the bank, and a lot of fans think that's money that we've invested in the club for you to use to make this the best team possible. That's a problem. The communication has to be better. I mean, you can look at, should there be fan representatives on the board? It's always a kind of contentious point. And you could argue, listen, there are Celtic fans on the board. Michael Nicholson, Chris Mackay, these guys and the whole rest of the board, they are Celtic fans. So you could argue there are Celtic fans on the board, but the board's been there a long time. Does that need freshening up? In general, I think it's a long way back. I think results in the pitch always take a bit of heat out of things, so it's getting the manager in, getting results in the pitch, keep winning trophies, and trying to make some kind of inroad into Europe, which has been lacking. These are all big issues that are going to take time. So I don't see any kind of silver bullet that's going to say, right, everyone's going to break out in peace and harmony, and we're all by pals again. So I think it's going to rumble on for a while for Celtic. So they should be braced for a bumpy road ahead. Let's flip across the city now as well. Talking about bumpy roads, Rangers in Europe this year has been well, they're off the road. I think it's more a bumpy road. Back in Premiership action this weekend against Livingston, also Europe next week. It's a lot to juggle, isn't it? Should Danny Rohl be just parking Europe and concentrating on the Premiership?
Potentially. I've never been a big fan in that, because I think things, they marry, don't they? If you're playing well in a team like Rangers are normally used to when they're on form, I think try to go for it in all competitions. But the fact that they've managed to put together 3 Premiership wins in these next 2 fixtures are pretty favourable.
The Premiership's the priority, surely.
100%, and it is. It was almost comedic a few weeks ago when it's this argument, Rangers are still in it, but it's remarkably the situation they find themselves in. Wins against Livingston, Falkirk, Wood, and if results elsewhere go in their favour, it'll only tighten that again. And it's a big ask. I made the point last week that they've got a ridiculous run of they've got all the big away games to play.
Yeah.
If they can tick off these winnable home games, it makes sense that the Europa League's gone, obviously, and that's been a great source of pride for Rangers for a long time. But I think it is. I think it's all pushing towards this. Danny Rohl seems to be. I made the point, Dundee chopping and changing mid-game to try and find the best team. I think the Europa League might be a stage to just trial things out, and then if it goes to the league.
You just change your mind. I said that you're saying they should be taking Europe seriously, and then you're saying you try things out.
Oh no, I think by element there's I don't like as a concept this idea of ditching Europe, but I think this is the one time where the critics
saying they should.
I think this is the time to do it. What do you think?
I think you're right. I think Europe can be used to help feed into the league form as well. I mean, if they can perform well in Europe, it can help the kind of league performances as well. Although in years gone by, we've seen amazing performances in Europe and then flat in their face in domestic game. So I think the league has to be the main focus. So what I mean by that is I wouldn't be taking any chances on anyone who's feeling a bit kind of a bit tight or a bit sore. I wouldn't be taking any injury risks. I wouldn't be gambling on that kind of thing. I think you've got to keep your powder dry for the big games in the league, because I think the league's still alive. I mean, I don't think that. I mean, I know there's a gap there, but the gap to Celtic isn't that wide right now. They can chip away at that. Celtic got a tougher run of fixtures. Hearts, I think you get to Celtic first and then think about Hearts. I think they've got to just build a domestic run over a longer period of time. Yeah. I mean, they've got 3 wins out of 3 domestically. The fans seem to be won over by the manager. He's been getting a good kind of PR drive as well, getting them on side. So yeah, I think the league's got to be the main focus. Europe is a bonus. The coefficient is already through the floor anyway, so we might as well resign ourselves to the fact that in 2027 we're going to be starting the European campaigns in about April.
After the Scottish Cup final.
Before the Scottish Cup final. So I think that I have to accept that as the future. And then but the league has got to be the big focus from now. He's got a few choices. I mean, I think he's got issues. I think a few positions. I think the defence is still an issue for him, but up front as well. You look at last year. I mean, Dessers and Igaman, who went without the critics at time as well. But I think they've been a big miss. They've spent a lot of money on strikers, and nobody's really grasping this position yet. I mean, who do we think should be the first choice or choices? I mean, obviously he likes to go with the kind of 2, doesn't he? Up front, who do you think would be the ones to get the nod? You've got obviously Danilo in there. You've got Termiti and you've got Majowski. what's the pecking order?
But the scariest thing is, there's arguments you make Rangers team where you try and think, put Kasam up there, or can move Moore, and like the wingers
Well,
are almost.
you can't spend 20 million
Well,
on
that's the
three
point.
strikers
That's
and not
the
play them.
scariest. But I think Chermiti is the ultimate worry in the signing. A lot of money. It just doesn't look like a natural finisher. You can see the game against Roma, the runs and the movement. I think he suits to that style of game, but it's a massive jump for there. Miovski's been a concern, and a lot of people make the point he isn't suited to that lower block. His best work came spinning off and in behind the Aberdeen. Danilo, I think injury base, seems like a cracking guy. There's wee spurts of life every time you see a smart goal at Easter Road. You go, but then he follows it up with nothingness at Dens Park. There's just not enough.
Yeah.
He's not involved in the game. He's not a good. It's just not enough. But I think personally, you've got to find a way to get Miovski right. You can't just be his opening shot as players are playing 20 yards deeper. We've watched Bojan Miovski score some ridiculous goals in this league. Do some, and he earned a really proper move to Girona.
He scored in midweek for
Exactly.
North Macedonia.
There you are.
Albeit they shared 8 goals with Wales, didn't they?
Albeit
the Wales got 7 of them.
There was a wee caveat there, wasn't there? But
an 8-goal thriller, I think they call it from that end.
And the Rangers fans as well, we know the worry as well that Kevin Thelwell obviously is target number 1, but he's signed a lot of players. He'll want them to work. That's obvious. And Miovski is one of them. But I feel the solution starts with Miovski, and you've got to work around that. You've just got to find a way of getting a proper striker going again. I
mean, there's something. Chermiti, I think, you look at him, you think he looks like a player. He's got the physicality. You think he should be a player. Do you stick with him and hope that he catches fire? I think you're right. The finishing. I mean, a couple against Celtic in the cup game. You need a striker to put in the back of the net. But I think Danilo, to me, I think he's a frustrating guy, isn't he? Because he looks like he's got the tools, and yet can't seem to build a consistent body of work. I mean, this is a guy who cost a lot of money, and I think he escaped at times the criticism that Dessers got. I mean, for all Dessers' missed chances, he scored goals. I think he's a big miss. I think Dessers has been missed. I think it's a mistake selling him. I mean, losing that amount of goals in the team has been proved to be a mistake. I think that Danilo has got to say this is his chance to be a guy. But then they seem to sign 2 guys, and he's kind of now flirting in without. At times his dad looks still more edge at him in the pitch. I mean, get him in up front. I think there's questions should be asked. It should be a big chance for him, but he's not taking it. Chermiti, I think, stick with him, and he might come good.
Right.
He might. Do you know what strikers are like? They're kind of delicate flowers sometimes, strikers. As soon as they get a goal or 2, they get all excited and they go and rerun. You never know. We'll talk about confidence and struggling. The Ruggers. I'll tell you what. I mean, if it's the Scotland football team kind of snatching glory from the jaws of defeat, the rugby team had the cigars out at one point last weekend against Argentina, and then had a complete and utter collapse. And listen, by the way, when do you ever hear booing?
No.
At Murrayfield? I mean, the rugby folk only big boors.
No, they're certainly not.
Big boozers right enough, not big boors. Because you can get a drink at the rugby.
It's contention there.
So what's going on? What's wrong?
Well, last Sunday was a mad sporting day in the sense that you had the Grand Slam of darts, you had Troy Parrott's heroics, and then at one point checking in, it was obviously all good with Scotland, and then out of nowhere things became a problem, and it's an issue here for Gregor Townsend now where they've always matched up well with Argentina. They were matched up very well with Argentina and somehow lost. This great chance to beat New Zealand gone. Criticism of Townsend over that's his second role and stuff. It feels the mood music's really shifted here for a team that, as we've touched on over the last 5 to 10 years, there's been lots to like. There's been great performances, but again, this real inconsistency and inability to really close out games or see it through and a bit of just understand the situation. And now they've ended up losing 2 games that if you flip it, the one there's this massive optimism, and that's hard to shift for Scotland. It just feels that as a country, as a setup, everything we had with the Scotland team, this ability for all concerns about the way Scotland, the football team play, they've got this just uncanny knack of just delivering at the right moment. I think that's completely missed in the Scotland rugby team.
Well, unfortunately, this has been a kind of growing theme with this team that they kind of they've had collapses before, and listen, there were a few games when they've had a collapse and they've got away with it. I remember the Wales game, we kind of hung on at the end. It's happened a few times when we've had kind of worrying kind of second half panic stations and had to kind of see it out. We've now obviously a couple of times also come a cropper, and this is a bad one, isn't it? People are now questioning. I mean, obviously the new contract for Greg Townsend a couple of months ago, and had it reached the end of its cycle, but he's got a new deal. I get that criticism, but we seem to be kind of just not quite pushing on. We're just kind of hanging about, and the odd good result, and then the odd collapse. I mean, was it Tonga this weekend? What do you think? Do you think there'll be a barrel boost and kind of winning this one?
Yeah, just a favourable matchup as well. But again, like I made the point, Argentina and New Zealand, it felt this chance to really do something, but it wasn't capitalised on.
Yeah.
But you've made this point there about Scotland. The problem is with Scotland, there's enough talent there. In a parallel universe, they could have a real run, maybe at a World Cup or one of Six Nations, and it hasn't happened. The talent is there. They compete in nearly every game of rugby they play. They're on everybody close, so they've nearly got victories over everyone or beat them, and it's just not happened. And I think there's something lacking there, and I think the SRU need to find a solution.
Yeah, let's try not to be the nearly men as always. So the Six Nations going to be huge.
Be more like Scotland football team. That's
yeah.
I've seen
outrageous luck to get to the World Cup. Well, Six Nations are going to be big next spring. But speaking about the nearly men, our bet of the week segment that's now took off. Well, one of us picked half of a double and done okay last weekend. I had
get the knockout.
I had Conor Ben on points, and he happened to win on points.
Yes.
4 or 5 to 1. I did my part of the deal. You let us down badly with your Dolphins, Miami Dolphins.
They won the game.
What was it?
14 points.
Yeah, so that let us down our double. So we're going to try again. We had success way back, so we're just sticking with it. Just in case we get another one. So what's this week's? You're under pressure. So what's your bet of the weekend? What's the big banker for you?
I'm trembling here. I think Man City are going to win well at St James's Park for the reason.
See, right away you got worried. I was thinking Newcastle. I was looking at these things. I thought I fancied Newcastle.
I think this Man City.
So tell me why they're going to get this done.
When Man City lost the first 3 Premier League games, they looked a pale imitation of the Man City we'd known before. But it feels there's a real toughness and the simplicity of the way they're playing. Like, it's just so get it to Doku, get it into Haaland, Foden get the ball. It's just I've never seen Pep's team play so direct, and I think that suits a place like St James's Park where Eddie Howe, I think, incredible manager. It's been a brilliant job, but they just feel like a club on fumes at this point. And I know the Champions League campaign's been great, but those defeats away to West Ham and Brentford are absolutely galling. Performances way below standard, and you're right. Like, there might be a massive reaction for Newcastle, and it's like an act of defiance, beat Man City. But I think it's going to go the other way. And the way Haaland's playing at that level right now, where he's filling his boots at just a crazy level, that I think he's got another hat-trick in him. Every game it feels he can score 2-3 goals.
Right.
And I just think they're a crack bet, honestly.
So what is the bet you're going for then?
Man City -1, and I actually think it'll be more.
Right.
Could win 3-4-1. I think they'll play really well.
So you think about Tonkin?
But
what's
it safe in the -1.
So what's our odds here?
12 to 5, I think.
12 to 5. Right, so not ridiculous. Not ridiculous. So I'm in a hot streak. I'm back to the last 2 winners in this segment. I said my 2 boxes are back to Joseph Parker to get to lose. Who subsequently he's found out he's maybe a bit naughty before the fight.
Yeah,
but it sounds like wait and see that one.
That was a crack shot.
That was a good bet. I sparked it as well. I said called it, didn't I? And then with the Conor Ben one, but I'm not going to do boxing because I'm going to go back to my my football bets, which are absolutely horrendous. So I might as well break my run. I'm going to go into the Scottish Championship. I'm going to go Dunfermline against Morton. And I'm going to take Dunfermline to win and both teams to score. It's a great division for the old BTTS bets, I think, the Championship. Really competitive games. There's not much between the two sides, only a point. The Pars have got a game in hand. Neil Lennon, I think, is doing a good job. They're a good squad. I think they'll be in the playoffs at least this year. I just think Dunfermline to win and both teams to score is a good bet at 4 to 1.
Young Todd to do the business again.
Yep. So if you get 12 to 5, 4 to 1, so what's that? 16 to 1. So your tenner gets you 160 quid, which goes right into the Christmas fighting fund, doesn't it? This time of year. So
listen, don't like to tempt it, but I'm very confident about this week because I was.
Do you like it? Do you like it?
I'm confident every week. I'm a positive.
Every time you put a bet on, you're confident. That's the whole point of betting. You don't ever put a bet on a thing that's going to lose. But listen, we'll see how it goes. If you stick it on and it comes in, we'll take a wee cut as well. It's only fair, isn't it? If we get our finder's fees for these little nuggets. But anyway, listen, we'll leave it there. The countdown is on to the USA next summer. But there's plenty to get worked up in beforehand. Let's go back to action this weekend. But thanks for watching. And catch us on the usual socials: YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, Apple Podcasts. Unlike 1998, when you're plugging in your dial-up broadband to get a photograph of us too. But we'll be back next week for some of the same old nonsense. Thanks again.
Cheers.